Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Hey everybody, welcome to Chassidus in the morning, 15 minutes to change your life. We're learning Tanu in Chanuka. We're up to Ois Zayin. We're going to finish probably just in the beginning of Chanuka. Hopefully you have something to think about over Chanuka, of why you are listening to the candles, as it says. Today's shir is in honor for a Refush Lema for Chaim David Rachel ben Sarah, Tian ben Sarah, Chaim Baruch Eliezer ben Reza Esther, and Elka Rachel Bas Aliza. Okay. So we were discussing yesterday about the fact that the war had to be specific. So specifically, we said we're talking about how it's the lakus that we're trying to overcome, and the way, meaning that the Greeks wanted to destroy the lakus that's within mitzvahs, that is within all mitzvahs, and therefore, in order to beat that, you have to get to this level of Mesiras Nefesh, because you can't do Avodah shal pi tamadas, even an Avodah that's l'mayim b'tamadas, but it's kshur b'tamadas, meaning any logic was contaminated. They destroyed the heichel, and not just that, even the oil they contaminated. Even the Avodah that's l'mayim b'tamadas, doing something because it makes sense to do, because that's what God told me to, even though I don't understand it, wasn't enough. We have to reach into our yechida. Like we talked about in Yanash Chassidus, you have to tap into yechida. In the level of the yechida, that's the way to bring out this victory. To serve God because we're one, not because of any logic, any reasoning, not because of two separate things coming together, but because us and God are essentially one. And this is expressed by this little jug of oil that has the seal, the Kohen Gadol. And like we talked about, the fact that it's teaching us that we have this yechida, that nothing ever can tap into it, can touch it, nothing ever can destroy it. And when we tap into that yechida, then we can overcome everything. Even though, like in the story of Chanuka, they were the Chalashim, Ma'atim, the Matisyahu and his sons were very weak and very small in number, but they were able to overcome a great big army. So with us, even when the formidable challenge in life is way above and it looks impossible to overcome, realizing that you have your yechida and tapping into your yechida will help you be able to overcome all life's challenges. Ois Zayin. So now we're going to discuss what's the victory like because of using yechida. And we'll see. Let's see. Wage to overcome or to win this war. That winning the war, specifically when it's through Mesiras Nefesh, this is a complete victory. Because the noise of Al-Zeh, meaning what's the difference in a complete victory, non-complete victory? A complete victory is you transform, you take over, you're different. A non-complete victory is, to use a bad example, but it's what it is, in Israel. Israel, they won the 6-day war, they took over all this land, and now they're stuck for the last 40, 50 years with issues. That's not a complete victory, and that's not what you want from your life. That's not what you want from that force of weakness within you and around you. That's what we're talking about. Because the noise of Al-Zeh, Shehavedim, Mesiras Nefesh. So why is it a complete victory? Because when it comes from Mesiras Nefesh, it's coming from the essence. Sehi Chayderes B'chol Kochos. It permeates in all of us, in the whole part of us, and until the level of action. Meaning, like explained in Yanash Chassidus, and actually quoted from Yanash Chassidus over here, that it's like oil. That oil is a good marshal for the etzem. For the one hand, it's totally above everything, and also it's always above everything, but it can permeate everything. And that's what he's saying. That when you have and you come from when you work in the level of your etzem, of that oneness with Hashem, then it affects everything. It's like the Chassidus is the etzem. The Chassidus can be explained into all the different levels, and it can transform every different level. Yeah. To affect even the level of action. What does that mean? That through this victory, it shows itself in everything. It means Shebechol Inyanov Nikar Azdas Tut Amesiris Nefeshid. That there goes a Mesiris Nefesh Jew. You can see on the person that the Mesiris Nefesh, meaning when it wasn't Mesiris Nefesh, doesn't mean that you can see on them that they're living life and they're about to die. I mean, you can see in everything they do, they connect to Hashem. It's not connected to Hashem because of logic. It's like the Rebbe would tell people, like Bachim would come, especially in the early years, in the 50s and 60s, they said they had Spegus and Amunah. So what did the Rebbe tell them? They would say, go speak to the Elter Chassidim that were in Russia, that went through the hardships of Russia. And I think what the Rebbe was trying to do, he's trying to say, look at these people. They went through hard. They have, so to speak, all the excuses in the world why to not believe. You live in America, what's your complaints? What do you have? What's life so hard? They went through hardships, they went through jail. And look at them, they believe, they have no issues. And you can learn, and you'll see in them that they very much believe. That's what he's saying, that when you have the Mesiris Nefesh means it means you're totally given over to the cause, to connect to the oneness within you and within Hashem. So when you're walking on this paradigm, so then everything you do is connected. Al derech mashakasu, like it says by Avram, Ekev, the pasuk says Ekev Hashem Avram Keli. So Ekev literally means because Hashem says about Avram, because he heard to my voice. But really, deeper level is like this: Shal Yidei Mesiris Nefesh, through Avram Mesiris Nefesh, Paul, the Gamma Ekev, he affected that even his heel, which is the most desensitized, it's in the heel, it's the bottom of the foot, it's nothing special. Even the heel, Shama had the heard, even his heel heard the command of Hashem. Meaning Avram was totally connected. This is Mesiris Nefesh. Mesiris Nefesh, not that I'm giving myself over, but I'm totally connected. Every part of me is connected to Hashem. And that's what happened to Avram. So what happens when that, so we're saying when the victory happened, it's a complete victory. Why? Because you're totally connected. When you're doing this, you're totally involved. So what happens? And even more than this, but when you're working on this level of yechida, yechida is above everything. So there's nothing against. You're tapping into a level, there's nothing against. There's a part of me that wants to do the right thing, there's a part of me that doesn't want to do the right thing. But when your yechida comes revealed, there's no, they all come in line. It's like there's different ministers in the palace. One minister thinks we should go to war. The other minister says we shouldn't go to war. And they discuss among themselves and they all argue. They come in front of the king, they all become bottle to the king. Whatever the king says that's what goes. And this is what happens when you tap into your yechida. You have a part of you. We have parts of us that are incongruent with each other. And I'm saying in the morning I'm this, and in the evening I'm a totally different person. I wanna be good, and then I don't want to be good. I can do Torah mitzvahs, two sides of Torah mitzvahs, and that's what's happening normally throughout the day. When you tap into yechida, you're always connected. The same person that went to bed, the same person that wakes up. Why? Because you're tapping into yechida. Like we said in Yanish Chassidus, the yechida, it's the essence of everything, so it can express itself within everything. And so to here, because you're tapping into the essence of everything, or of you, so it expresses itself in everything, even to the koyach ha'maisa. The Avodah al pi tamadas, it's not shaykh to have anything against. Because the Avodah al pi tamadas, but when you're working according to logic, which is not the yechida, but even if it's a level above your logic, but it's still connected with logic, which is still not your yechida. So then you can have something against with this logic, so we can uproot the logic. We can argue with it. Explain it logically, so I can argue with the logic. Which is not so. When you reveal your essence, your yechida, when you reach that level, there's no menagid. You're tapping into a level above all these things. And furthermore, when you're revealing the level of yechida that's within you, it affects everything, even nefesh bahamis. she'etzem hachumrius, the nefesh bahamis, that the coarseness of the nefesh bahamis mishapech min hakatz al katz, transforms itself from one extreme to the other. Because and this is a beautiful idea, because this is what we're saying, that when you tap into that yechida, when it expresses itself, it can express itself with everything. Sai nefesh elikis, of course, and also nefesh bahamis, meaning that your life becomes very clear and very, very, very straight and very clear. It's not that you're not being pulled in all these directions because you tapped into the yechida. Because when you go in Avodah, Alpi Tamadas, so then you have one voice telling you it's logical to do mitzvahs, and one voice say, yeah, it's not logical. It's better to sleep. It's better to eat junk food. It's better not to care about other people. It's better to sleep in and watch movies. And then another voice, no, but let's discuss this because I think it's better to do this. And you're constantly going this back and forth, and you're battling within yourself. When you tap into yechida, that doesn't happen. It's like I one time went with Chanuka actually, and I was standing outside. We had a table set up, like main like street somewhere in America with a friend of mine, and we had menorahs, and we'll give out menorahs. We got people to light menorahs, and at one point the little crowd came and it got a little wild, a little rowdy. Thursday night, it was rowdy. And it's getting out of control. Nothing dangerous, but it wasn't a good scene happening. And I felt a little uncomfortable. And I guess you could see it. So one kid jumps out of nowhere, and he was like, "Comes to defend me." He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Leave these guys alone. I'm also Jewish." I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Did you like the menorah?" And he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Whoa, yeah, come, let me show you." And I was shocked. He didn't understand what a menorah was. And I put on a hat, and he made a bracha, and he lit the menorah. This was Mesiras Nefesh. That all parts of him. Now, unfortunately, maybe it wasn't. I don't know if it's the rest of his life. I don't know what happened to him. But the fact of the matter is, at this point, his Mesiras Nefesh was revealed, and it was clear. His whole body, Bahamas. He was out on the street on Thursday night. What was he going to do? Who knows? What was he eating? Who knows? But then when the yechida comes, then everything is all on the same team, and then it's complete victory. That's what happened to him then. He was complete, and he's lighting the menorah, telling you have to connect to the chvaras or whatever it was. And this is what we're saying we're able to do it, because when you tap at that level, you have nothing against. There's no, like, the logic would have said, "What are you doing? You're going to jump in? You're going to help these people?" It's like, embarrassing, these two religious guys with hats and jackets. Like, they're not them. But the Mesiras Nefesh, they came in, it affects it. When you reveal this yechida, I raise them, poil gamal nefesh bahamis. Yeah. You transform nefesh from one extreme to the other. It's like we were saying in the beginning, talking about the Mitzvah in Israel. That's not when you don't tap into the yechida, you don't work on that level. So then you're constantly having battles, and that's why, unfortunately, in Israel, that's what it is. There's no real complete victory. The victory is not mitzad the yechida. Mitzad ham v'das. It's not even. I don't know. You could argue whether it's even ma'il tam v'kshurim tam v'das. Not even l'mayim tam v'das. It's all tam v'das. But if they went in the level of the yechida, then there wouldn't be any wars. So it's within ourselves. And with this, we'll stop here, and tomorrow we're going to discuss, and we'll finish up this parak. We'll discuss now. We understand why. We'll discuss now why it's 8, and why the menorah is 8, and why it's lunadak. Because this is what we're talking about. The whole Chanuka is totally different than the Beis Mikdash. The whole Chanuka is reaching this Mesiras Nefesh, reaching the etzem, the yechida, and expressing itself. And the yechida is totally above nature, above logic. That's why it's 8. That's at night. That's where it's the ability to transform this. To be continued tomorrow. Have a good day. Anyone have any questions? Okay, so a question is asked: how do we live with Mesiras Nefesh? So I think, first of all, I don't think it means that we shouldn't be logical in what we do. But I think at Judaism, we want to tap into realization that I'm connected, I'm one with Hashem, and try to work on that level, and more reveal ourselves more in that level. And of course, it's like a lifelong journey, but it's reminding myself, I think, like maybe, it's a good question. maybe it's like reminding ourselves. It could be like a Isbaitinus or davening, like I'm one with Hashem, and and I want to be connected to Hashem. I think that's sort of a practical way of trying to implement it. Is recognizing, saying, "Hey, I have yechida. My yechida is one with Hashem, and I want to live my life with that oneness, with that yechida, with that shemen, hach echad shemen. That's and I think when you walk in that level, what the expressions of it, maybe that's a better way of understanding it, is seeing the expression of it. One of the expressions of it is where you look at yourself. Ask yourself, do I look at myself as a yechida, as part of Hashem, or do I look at myself as a destroyed base of Mikdash, destroyed heichal? And that's the point. I think one of the ways is recognizing that the etzem, essentially, I am good. I'm one with Hashem. I am yachid, miyuchad with the Eivishter. That's what I am. But and that's the way to implement it, is by looking at ourselves from that angle, and that will help that victory. That's Tolam Talmud. Once you realize I'm just like Hashem is infinite, I'm also infinite. I don't have any issues. My Nefesh Bahamas is not an issue in a way. He's an issue in a way because I give him credits. I treat my Nefesh Bahamas like it's somebody. Whereas if I tap into the level of the yechida, the Nefesh Bahamas is not somebody. Everyone's on my team. The whole world's on my team. It's a little bit. It's for sure. It's a lifelong process, and it's a deep right. But I think it's a good starting point.